Drake and Josh is one of the most popular shows on Nickelodeon. Drake and Josh was originally a spinoff of The Amanda Show, where Drake and Josh would appear occasionally. After The Amanda Show ended, Drake and Josh would get greenlit, and would air in January 2004. Everyone from the skits on The Amanda Show would return. Today, we're going to be watching and ranking all of the Drake and Josh episodes. Let's start off with the characters. Drake Parker is played by Drake Bell, the cool kid in his school and has a rock band, and is good with chicks. Josh, a smart, nice kid who's always wanted to do the right thing. Then we have Megan. She's basically the evil sister who likes messing with her brothers by pranking them. And then we have Drake and Josh's parents, Audrey, who is Drake's mom, and Walter, who's Josh's dad. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into Drake and Josh. The episode starts off with Audrey and Josh's dad announcing that they're gonna get married. And Drake doesn't take this well because of Walter and Josh, because he views Josh as weird. Half the episode is establishing Drake and Josh's relationship. In the beginning of the episode, they establish Miss Nancy on the school paper, and turns out Josh is Miss Nancy. He dresses as a girl to give good advice when reading mail. One of Miss Nancy's letters is from Tiffany, the hottest girl at Drake and Josh's school, and the letter consists of her complaining about her boyfriend not doing anything romantic. So Drake uses this to get to Tiffany. Something I like about the series is how Drake and Josh's personality clashes, like having different views, with Drake wanting to use the letters to get to Tiffany and Josh very much going against it, and is only helping him so he doesn't reveal who Miss Nancy is, which is him, with Drake getting Josh to stop dressing up as a woman to read letters and respond to letters. Basically, how the episode ends is Josh gets Debo knocked out by the guy of the girlfriend that Drake's trying to hit on. This episode does a decent job introducing the characters with overall decent jokes. It's okay, moving on. This episode, Drake gets a doom buggy from his friend. The only problem is it's trash, like it's very much like not working. During this time, Drake convinces Josh to lie about not knowing anything about the TV being broken. But Josh isn't a good liar, so he admits he did it. So he gets grounded for lying. During this time, he fixes the doom buggy and it now works. But they aren't allowed to drive it since, well, they aren't legally allowed to drive. But Drake takes it out for a spin and later hits a tree, in which he goes to the emergency room and tries to hide the fact he's injured to his family. But Josh finds out, because a doctor calls saying that Drake forgot his wallet at the emergency room, and he sees the destroyed doom buggy. So he tries to get Drake to confess because Josh is tired of Drake always lying about stuff. So Drake confesses, and confesses to lying about the TV. So Drake finally gets punished. I would give this episode a 6 out of 10. It's good, but the series will later have better episodes. The plot of the episode is Drake has this new girlfriend which starts hitting on Josh and kisses him, and which Drake walks in on them kissing, and she tries to make it out like Josh is going after her, when in actuality, she's going after Josh. Throughout the episode, Josh tries to tell Drake Susan has been hitting on him, but Drake doesn't believe him. So throughout the episode, Drake and Josh are recording a music video for a school project. While this is happening, Megan starts recording embarrassing moments from Drake and Josh and edit it into the music video. Megan captures Susan kissing Josh and captures it on film and puts it in the music video. Drake then dumps her, and then the end. I actually really like this episode. While it's not being the best comedy wise, the story wise it's actually decent. I will give it an 8.1 out of 10. The plot of this episode is about Josh applying him and Drake to babysit for his dad's boss. Drake not wanting to babysit and instead wanting to perform with his band. And Josh only really did this to help out his dad. After putting the baby to sleep after it won't stop crying because of Megan, Drake leaves because he didn't volunteer to babysit and he wants to perform with his band. After Drake leaves, Josh realizes that the baby is gone. So Josh starts playing Where's Waldo with the baby, but he can't find the baby. Josh then calls Drake asking him for help to find the baby. Drake starts feeling guilt over leaving Josh alone with the baby, and after listening to Josh's voicemail, he decides to go back. During this time, Josh is still trying to find the baby, and during this time, Walter's boss's wife calls, and during this call, Josh tries to mimic a baby. It says mama in like a baby tone, and which now the boss and his wife want to go back to be there for the moment. Josh thinks the baby is on the roof, so he tries to get onto the roof, where he's hanging for dear life, but Drake appears and puts 2 and 2 together and realizes Megan took the baby. So he goes to confront Megan. So Josh gets stuck there after he tips the ladder until his parents find him and he falls, in which his parents go in to find nothing wrong. Then the episode ends shortly after. This episode was alright. I would just give it like a 5 out of 10. This episode is about Josh's crush on a girl from a school called Kathy and the fact he's not the best of girls compared to Drake. After Josh embarrasses himself in front of Kathy, Josh asks Drake how he gets bitches, and he just says he usually just talks about stuff that he likes and stuff he does, like the fact he plays guitar. After Josh embarrasses himself in front of Kathy, Josh mentions he plays guitar, in which Kathy invites him to a birthday party and she wants to hear Josh perform. After Drake bombs at a coffee shop audition because Megan's snake. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there's a bee pod involving Megan getting a snake. Josh tried to get Drake to help him with the guitar, in which I noticed Drake has a Nas poster. It's confirmed Drake Parker is a Nas fan. So after Drake attempts to teach Josh, which doesn't go so well, Drake helps Josh by playing for him by making it look like Josh is playing, but in reality Drake is playing it. After it's revealed that Drake is the one that's playing, Kathy is uncertain about being friends or dating Josh, but Drake sneaks Josh's really good drawing of Kathy into Kathy's locker, and after this, Josh gets Drake another audition at the coffee shop and sets up a meetup. After the convo, the episode ends with Megan's snake crawling up from Josh's jacket and ends up crawling up his pants, with him screaming out of the building. Overall, this episode is really good. Alright, like I was mentioning before, the first season isn't as polished as the other ones, since it's the first season, but overall, really decent. Ending season 1 with a pretty good episode. Josh's grandma is coming to babysit Drake and Josh, in which she doesn't like Drake because she thinks he's irresponsible, which to be fair, she wasn't completely wrong about. Drake wanted to go to the Rock Shock concert but keeps getting denied, but his friend doesn't have tickets, so even if he wanted to go, he still can't. Drake still wants to go with his friends to hang out, but Grammy keeps thinking that he's gonna go to the Rock Shock concert. So Grammy makes a deal with Drake that if Drake beats her at basketball, he gets to go hang out with his friends, but he can't go to the Rock Shock concert, in which Drake wins. They go to the concert because Drake's friends show up last minute with tickets, in which they find out it's fake. They all get phone calls, so Drake calls Josh to tell him to go bail him out and to not tell Grammy, but she finds out and she has to pay a $200 fine, which is around $323 today. And so Grammy admits that she let Drake win the basketball game due to Josh saying that she's giving Drake a hard time. So they rematch, and if Grammy wins, he will have to tell his parents about the concert, and if Drake wins, they won't talk about it to their parents. And Grammy is basically Kobe and wins, and so Drake will have to tell his parents. After this, Drake pays back Grammy for the fine at the concert. The money was originally going to go for a new guitar. After this, Grammy decides to let Drake off the hook. While Drake is in the middle of telling his parents, Grammy cuts him off and just writes it off as she beat him at basketball.
Grammy beat you at basketball!
After this, Grammy gives Drake back his money from the fine. I actually really like this episode, one of the best of season 1. I love this episode. The plot is simple, of Drake and Josh giving up their favorite things like junk food and Josh's video game addiction. And whoever loses will have to dye their hair pink. This was back before YouTubers existed. So they get Megan to write up a contract in which they both sign off on. The whole episode is just them trying to adjust so the other loses. Drake gets a rash from not eating junk food, and Josh gets a game spear that doesn't release for another 3 months. While this is going on, the parents have to make a bet of their own on who's gonna win, Drake or Josh, with Josh's dad betting on Drake and Drake's mom betting on Josh. Whoever loses will have to dye their hair pink along with the parent who bet on them. This episode is actually a decently funny episode. After this, Megan convinces both Drake and Josh to sabotage each other, with both of them caving. It's revealed that the contract said whoever caved must dye their hair, and both of them caved. So both Drake and Josh and the parents have to dye their hair pink. I would give this episode an 8.9 out of 10. The episode's plot is about Drake wins a radio contest and wins tickets to go see Zero Gravity and wins an autographed guitar, which Josh accidentally destroys by plugging it into a messed up amp, and the guitar catches fire, and which Josh tries to get the guitar replaced and signed, and which he buys one at a guitar store. The B plot of this episode is Walter trying to bond with Drake. During this time, Josh tries to get the guitar signed so he can replace his old guitar that's broken. He does, but he accidentally breaks the guitarist's hand, so Drake has to go out and perform with Zero Gravity, in which he does good. After the concert, Drake gets paid, in which he gives the money to Josh for the guitar. This episode is fairly decent. I would give it a 7 out of 10. The plot revolves around Josh getting a job at the premiere, a movie theater, in which we get introduced to my two favorite side characters of Drake and Josh, Helen and Crazy Steve. Crazy Steve is mentally unhinged, but he does have his moments like these.
Oh! You ate my enchilada! It was so dumb! You ate my enchilada! It was so dumb! You ate my enchilada!
Helen has her moments too. Drake starts working there because of money. Josh wants to be assistant manager, but Helen takes a liking to Drake a lot more, so she gives him the position, which Josh is jealous of since Drake doesn't seem to care as much as Josh does about the job. So Josh tries to come up with an idea to impress Helen. The idea being having in 10 buckets of popcorn he hit a golden ball. Whoever gets the golden ball gets free movies for a month. As you expect, people go batshit looking for it, in which Helen finds out and wants to fire the person who came up with the idea, in which Drake takes the fall for Josh. This episode is good. It has its highlights. Again, I like the months where Drake actually does something nice for Josh. I would give this episode a 7.8 out of 10. The plot of this episode is about Josh joins the football team after Drake says he isn't cool, in which Josh becomes the equipment manager, but even after this, he still isn't viewed as cool. When Josh is making brownies for the football team, Megan laces the brownies with dirt, so it poisons the football players. And the center position player ate 17 brownies, so he has it the worst. So Josh replaces him in the game, which Josh very much doesn't want to do, because he's not good at football. And which Drake gets a janitor who was a professional football player, he gets him to fill Josh's place in the game. In which after the janitor plays as Josh, the real Josh wants to go out and play for real, and Drake says to Josh that he's cool now, in which Josh wins the game for the team, and then the episode ends. This episode is actually pretty good. I would give it an 8.1. This plot is about pool. Basically, Drake finds out Josh is really good at pool, so he comes up with the idea to hustle people for money. This happens when Megan hustles Drake out of $10 over darts. After Josh finds out that Drake has been betting, he refuses to play pool. Something that happens earlier is Walter bought Drake's mom a cool bracelet. Well, after this, she buys the exact same bracelet for herself without realizing Walter bought her that. So Walter sends them to go get a gift for Drake's mom. While on the street, Drake notices a pool hall. So they start hustling people in pool, in which they start hustling these two guys that start accusing them of hustling them. And they aren't exactly friendly about it. But then it turns out it's a setup by Josh to teach Drake a lesson about hustling people. And those guys were just old camp counselors of Josh, in which one of the counselors has a necklace that matches Drake's mom's bracelet, so they buy it off him to give it to their mom, which then the episode ends. This episode is actually, I would give this episode actually like an 8.7 out of 10. Drake trying to get with this one chick who's really smart. So to try to impress her, he enters the academic team to beat another high school. He uses Josh for answers, in which Josh gets tired of Drake and leaves. Long story short, he admits he wasn't brainy after the contest to the girl, in which they still kiss after, even once she finds out that he isn't brainy. Then he apologizes to Josh. The end. I'm going to keep it a $1.50. Hold back your tomatoes, but Drake and Josh is only just okay. Don't get me wrong, they have good episodes like Movie Job and Grammy, but other episodes like these just feel like filler. So I would give this episode like a 4.5 out of 10. It's just really average, not really anything special. It wasn't really that funny in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, it's not that bad, but it's just very, very low average. This episode revolves around Drake and Josh dealing with Ashley Blake, a famous spoiled actress. She's doing a photo shoot at the premiere. Also, Megan is here, who Ashley Blake takes a liking to, and becomes friends with Megan. Because Josh works at the premiere, he has to deal with her. Josh gets promised to get Drake into the after party if he helps her with Ashley Blake. So like I was mentioning before, Ashley Blake becomes friends with Megan, so Blake comes over to their house and starts bossing them around. While Megan and Ashley are trying to prank Drake and Josh, the bucket hits Ashley on the head. After the doctor comes over, he gives her medication to go to sleep, so she'll be out cold for like 9 hours. Drake and Josh have to make it look like she's still awake, so they start dragging her around like she had way too many drinks, and make her talk like she's some sort of puppet. And not gonna lie, it's kind of funny seeing them like drag her around and see how people are buying it, even though it's clearly obvious that they're the ones doing it. After they do a short Q&A, they go to the after party, in which they leave Ashley Blake in a trash can, in which after Drake and Josh leave the after party, they give it to her bodyguard Citrus, in which Citrus dumps her back into the trash can and goes after this one chick, which W Citrus. Now, from what I read, a lot of people are not a huge fan of this episode, but in my opinion, it was alright. I'll give it like a 6 out of 10. I would rate it higher than Smarter Girl, just because it didn't feel like a filler episode, and there was actually decent jokes in it. This episode is about Josh embarrassing himself on the Weather Channel and starts twitching as a result of Megan sabotaging him, and as a result he's seen as a laughingstock after the situation. Drake tries to cheer him up by singing the Blues Brothers with him, but he's too sad to do that because they usually rehearse the Blues Brothers together when it comes on TV, because this was back in 2005. While this is happening, Drake is entering the talent show but is against these random guys. Drake is going to perform I Found a Way, the show's theme song, but the random guys steal the song, so they start performing at the talent show. So Drake convinces Josh, who is still embarrassed about the whole weather fiasco, to come up there and do the Blue Brothers with him, along with his band. And so after they perform, they win, and the episode ends. I would give this episode like a 6 out of 10. It was alright overall. In this episode, Drake and Josh are going to go get their driver's license, in which Drake gets the hot driver instructor and Josh gets the old strict driver instructor, in which Josh's instructor thinks that Josh is one of those party teens. Not gonna lie, I relate to Josh here. Josh gets his driver's license, but Drake doesn't because he's bad at driving. On Josh's first day, he gets a ticket, in which Drake pays off and holds this over Josh's head in exchange for getting him rides to places like the taco stand or just like to the movie theater. But Josh is visibly getting annoyed, and the reason why he can't say no to Drake is because Drake will tell their dad, and if his dad finds out, he will take away his license. After a while, Josh has a breaking point after Drake picks up a girl from the premiere and treats him as a chauffeur, like make him act like a chauffeur so that way he can impress this girl who's like in college. And after Josh is fed up, he makes Drake drive, in which Josh still gets the ticket because it's his car, so the ticket is for a faulty taillight, in which Josh gets pissed at Drake for this and starts beating the shit out of Drake, and the episode ends. Overall, I'd give this episode like a 6 out of 10. It was okay. This episode is about Megan's friend becoming a stan of Drake, and Drake shuts her down, which is surprising. For legal reasons, that is a joke. Her dream is to get Drake to sing her a song, and after Drake shuts her down, she basically becomes sad, and Drake misses his opportunity to play on the radio to sing her a song. Oh yeah, the B plot of this episode is Josh becomes the campfire chief for Megan's group, and that's really it. This episode is okay. I would give it like a 5.10. This episode is about Drake dating this really weird girl, and he wants to break up with her, but the only thing stopping him is that that's his teacher's daughter. And not just any teacher, a teacher that doesn't like him. And if he breaks up with her, he will have to go to summer school. The B part of this episode is about Josh getting a lucky shirt, and when he puts it on, lucky stuff happens to him, including avoiding Megan's pranks, which Megan doesn't like. So Drake and Josh go on a double date with Drake's girlfriend and her friend. During this part, Drake and Josh cut off part of the shirt so that way both of them have luck, with Drake needing luck to have Kelly break up with him, and Josh to be able to get bitches. In the morning, Megan gets rid of the shirt and pranks them again, and that's how the episode ends. The episode is alright. I would give it a 5.10. It wasn't that funny. This episode is about two guys, Buddy and Guy, giving Drake and Josh Gary Coleman grills to sell. And after making a profit and after selling them, the police confront Drake and Josh because a shipment of Gary Coleman grills was stolen, and they believe Drake and Josh are the ones that did it. And since Drake and Josh didn't know Buddy and Guy, they don't believe Drake and Josh's testimony. So Megan confronts Buddy and Guy and wears a wire, so both of them get arrested, and which Drake and Josh are free. But Gary Coleman shows up and wants his money from the grills that they sold. So to take back everything Drake and Josh bought, and then the episode ends. I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. It was actually decently funny. This episode's plot is about Drake and Josh hanging out too much, so Drake and Josh hang out with two different people. With Josh hanging out with Drew, who acts like Drake, and Drake getting Jerry, who acts like Josh, after Megan convinced him to hang out with Jerry to make Josh jealous. And with Megan convincing Josh that Drake is replacing him with Jerry. So Josh starts hanging out with Drew more to make Drake jealous, and vice versa. After Drake and Josh reconcile, both Drew and Jerry get their own show. It's basically Drake and Josh, but put them in it. It gets meta for a couple seconds. I would give this episode like a 7.6 out of 10. It was okay. This episode is about Drake being framed for putting the teacher's car in our classroom. That teacher being the mean teacher from the other episode. He's being framed by Mindy Crenshaw, Josh's rival, in which Drake gets suspended after this, but he gets a trial, so then it gets revealed why she put the car there, and it's because she got a B in her class. So yeah, she committed a felony just because she got a fucking B in someone's class. Geez, give her a C and she'll commit domestic terrorism. Fucking terrorism! I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. It was good outside of the weird, stupid plot twist of why she did it. This episode of Drake and Josh is about Drake and Josh's parents going out of town for the weekend for spring break, and Drake and Josh is babysitting Megan, and they spend all their money on stupid stuff, and in which they have no money to feed Megan. While this is happening, Drake and Josh overhear a couple talking about how there's no place to stay as a result of spring break. So they take them in and make their house seem like it's a hotel, so that way they can make the money back. But Drake the next day brings a bunch of college students who are on spring break and have no place to stay to their house, so that way Drake can get more money. As you expect, it becomes mayhem. Drake officially wants him out after one of the partygoers destroys his guitar. After their first attempt fails, they decide to go get Helen, and which she agrees after hearing Drake's in trouble. Helen gets distracted when MTV Spring Break shows up. It then cuts to Drake and Josh's parents from the hotel seeing this on MTV, and they call Drake and Josh because they say the home looks familiar to their house. So Drake and Josh's parents are on the way home now. So they get everyone out of the house and clean up, and the parents show up and they are none the wiser, thinking that it was just the house looked very similar. The episode ends with Drake and Josh's parents getting arrested for hosting an unauthorized televised event without a permit. I would rate this episode an 8 out of 10. It was a fun episode. Now, from what I see, a bit of people aren't a fan of this episode. This episode is about salsa. Whoever wins the salsa contest wins a fancy TV, in which Drake and Josh are entering the contest, and Megan's entering by herself. Megan uses this puff pepper that isn't in North America and is only in South America, which people enjoy the taste of, so Drake and Josh steal it from Megan and make salsa with it, and use it in the contest, to find out it's illegal in the US, after it was proven to cause kidney failure, in which Megan wins by default since they both got disqualified for using the puff pepper. Also, I forgot to mention, Megan basically has a whole security camera feed in her room like she's working at Freddy Fazbear's or something. I would give this episode a 4 out of 10. It was kind of boring and not really much happening in it. This episode is about Josh's friend from another country coming to San Diego to visit Josh, in which Drake and Yuka, Josh's friend, starts getting along. So Josh starts a friendship ceremony because Josh mistranslated what Yuka says on the phone to her parents, which they think Yuka said she's homesick. So they did this to make her feel at home, in which it's revealed it was a wedding ceremony and not a friendship ceremony, with Drake marrying Yuka, in which Yuka's parents come over to meet Drake, in which Drake's parents are pissed for why he married Yuka, in which we get a funny scene. What Yuka actually said on the phone is that she was sick of home, so that way, and that's why she thought that Drake married her so that way she could stay in America. During dinner, Drake finds out that Yuka's family is rich and wants to stay together with her for the money. After Josh feeds them goat meat and puts it all on Drake, Yuka's dad tears up the wedding document and then the episode ends. I would give this episode a 6 out of 10. This episode is about a science fair in which Josh thinks he has a chance since Mindy, who always beats him in the science fair, is locked up in Arkham Asylum after she committed Grand Theft Auto, in which she comes back and beats Josh in the science fair again. After the science fair, Mindy and Josh have to work on a project in which, during the middle of a small argument, Mindy admits she has feelings for Josh and Josh does the same. They become boyfriend and girlfriend, in which Mindy dumps him over not telling Drake that they are dating. At the end of the episode, Josh finally tells Drake, in which Drake takes him to go see Mindy so they can get back together. Josh and Mindy kiss and then the episode ends. I would give this episode like a 7 out of 10. It was slightly better. This episode is about Drake and Josh confusing Walter for having an affair with their mom after Drake overhears what he says on the phone, and convinces Josh after Josh catches him coming home late at night, with Drake and Josh trying to make him remember how good their mom is by making him breakfast, which goes horribly wrong. So they go spying on him, and it turns out he's just applying for a better job position at another company. But all of them are suffering from no one explaining anything itis, so dumping spaghetti on the person that wants to recruit Walter. So she's pissed and the deal is off, and Drake and Josh have to dump spaghetti on them after Walter finally tells them what the fuck was up. I would give this episode a 3 out of 10 in my opinion. It's one of the worst episodes of the season in my opinion. It's not really that funny, plus it's kind of just boring, and I kind of hate the trope of characters not explaining themselves, like double meaning. This episode's about Josh's mustache and the fact no one likes it. Shit, Mindy even pays Megan to shave it off but fails, and it's only half shaven off. So it's basically just magic marker. Basically, he can't get the magic marker off and he shaves the hair part of it off, so it's just a drawn on magic marker mustache. And Mindy is just happy the mustache is gone, technically. And the problem with Drake this episode is that he's stuck in a relationship he doesn't want to be in. He doesn't like the term girlfriend boyfriend. Basically, he's the real life Drake. And after breaking up with her, he starts getting jealous seeing her with another guy on a date. And so they both get back together and they send Drake's date with Liz's date. And then they head out. This episode's alright. I'll give it like a 6 out of 10. This episode is about Helen getting laser eye surgery, so Josh is the assistant manager until she comes back. The side plot of this episode is about Megan coming up with this idea to hold both your popcorn, soda, and drink. Josh sees this as a dumb idea. Meanwhile, Helen goes back to work, in which Helen says Josh has to help her manage her around, basically until she can take the bandages off. Josh brings Drake along and takes Helen back to her place where she's loaded from royalties from a sitcom she used to be on, in which they watch an episode. And they also play DDR, in which Helen is still very much liking Drake more than Josh. Speaking of Josh, he accidentally drops Helen's eye drops down the drain and destroys them with the garbage disposal, in which he goes to the pharmacy to go get more eye drops, and drops by a house to get a swimming suit, in which Drake has to go stay with Helen, so she doesn't wander off because she took 2 pain pills when she was only supposed to take 1, so she's loopy. But Drake goes back to the house to get a swimsuit and leaves Helen alone, and which it's revealed that she's at their house after looking for her for a bit. It turns out Helen is very much interested in Megan's idea. While Josh is getting Helen from their place, Drake invites people to Helen's place because it's a killer place and the fact that she can't see. But Josh and Helen walk through the door, in which Josh and Drake have to hide the fact there's people there, and they're all in the hot tub, so yeah. And after this, Helen gets a call that she can take the bandages off, in which she sees all the people in the hot tub. Josh says Drake did it, and she sees it as Drake invited people over for her, not him, in which Josh is flabbergasted. Then the episode ends with Helen buying Megan's idea. I like this episode. I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's actually a simple plot, but it's actually entertaining to watch. This episode is about Josh going to the hospital after accidentally dropping a weight on his foot, which Josh doesn't like the hospital. Josh is going to surgery on his foot, in which Drake disguises himself as a doctor, in which people start seeing him as a doctor, so he has to pretend to be a doctor, so he doesn't go to jail for trying to impersonate a doctor. So he's trying to find a way out. So he has to perform surgery in front of a bunch of doctors because he disguises himself as like a huge doctor. He tries to find a way to get out of surgery, because if he doesn't, he will go to jail for impersonating a doctor. So he tries to find a way in which Josh disguises himself as a doctor, basically helps Drake get out, in which they find out Drake is a fake and he throws himself out the window, breaking his arm. And they head back to the house. Also, the B plot throughout this episode is about Megan's AC. Basically, she doesn't like that it's cold upstairs, and Drake and Josh like it being cold, so she modified it to make it really cold in their room. Yeah, that's the B plot. This episode's okay. I would give it like a 6 out of 10. This episode is about Drake and Josh finding out they had a fight at a baseball game over a foam finger when they were both 8 years old. Both of them having different sides of stories, with Josh arguing that Drake was selfish, but Drake denies Josh's story. After this, Drake moves out of the room and starts sleeping in Megan's room, which Megan hates. So she gets the guy who sold them the foam finger, and it turns out baby Megan was the reason they fought, because Josh thought that Drake hit him with the foam finger, but it was really Megan that threw a cookie at Josh, and that started the fight. And the episode ends shortly after. This episode is good. I would give like an 8. This episode is about Drake meeting Mindy's parents. Drake's plot this episode is about Drake's girlfriend being tougher than him, which Drake is insecure about. While this is happening, Josh is very worried about meeting Mindy's parents, because Mindy's parents are basically strict and basically rich. They are kind of dicks too.
You're hurting my hand.
Sorry. My fault.
Clearly.
So it goes very rough to say the least. So Josh invites them over to their house. Meanwhile, during this, Drake's girlfriend is being seen as tougher than Drake. So Drake and Lucy have a fight to see who's tougher upstairs, while Josh and Mindy's parents are having dinner. So Josh has a fancy dinner with Mindy's parents, in which it goes bad after Drake's fight interrupts them. But after hearing Josh explaining how he did all this for Mindy's parents and Mindy's parents give them the blessing, in which the episode ends with Mindy's parents wrestling over who's tougher. I like this episode, a 7.5 out of 10. This episode is about Megan getting a sheep, and Megan has to hide it. So she convinces Drake and Josh to do it in exchange for not messing with them for a couple months. So they hide it for a week, in which the sheep gives birth to another sheep. The sheep starts chewing everything up, like their couch and stuff like that, until their parents find the sheep in their room, and Megan plays dumb about telling them to keep the sheep in their room, so they get grounded for keeping the sheep in their room. The episode ends with Megan getting a zebra, with Drake and Josh walking out because they don't want to deal with this again. I would give this episode a 5 out of 10. This episode is about Josh being a student teacher for Megan's class, in which Josh starts giving them college grade stuff, It's basically unfair shit. So Megan gets blackballed from the rest of the classroom as a result of this. The B plot of this episode is about Drake recruiting one of Megan's classmates because he's good at the drums, but he can't play in the band due to getting a bad grade on one of Josh's quizzes. So Megan and Drake are relatively pissed about this. So Drake and Megan sabotage Josh so he gets fired. So everyone from Megan's class gives him a gift as a show of goodwill. It's okay, I would give it a 4.5 out of 10 in my opinion. This episode is about Drake having to do a little brother program thing, so he doesn't get in trouble for being late. So Drake doesn't do a good job with his younger sibling, and the younger sibling actually likes Josh way more. Which is bad for Drake since Sammy, if he doesn't like him, that means he will have to do remedial English, which is basically Detroit. So Drake tells Josh to be mean to Sammy so Drake likes him more. But Drake brings the ATV to Sammy and also gives him some tickets, which now Sammy likes Drake way more now. But Josh really bonded with Sammy so he's upset afterwards. So Drake pretends that he's sick so Sammy and Josh can hang out. But then their teacher sees that Sammy still likes Josh better and puts him in Detroit English. But Josh comes through to get him out of Detroit English. I would give it a 7 out of 10. This episode is about Josh appearing as a thug in a crime show that reenacts crimes. And so people see him as the actual theater thug, and they attack him on sight like this is O Block. But Drake gets praised because he didn't play the thug. Instead, he played just a random character in the crime show. He tries to disguise, but that doesn't work. Until the actual theater thug shows up at Josh's job and takes him as a hostage, and both Drake and Josh knock him out. But the police confuse Josh with the theater thug, so they arrest him and the theater thug gets away. This episode kinda sucks, to be honest. I would give this episode 2.5 out of 10. It's not really that funny, plus you just see like Josh getting beat up for no reason. This episode is about Drake and Josh wanting to go on a roller coaster, but they have to watch their grandpa. But both of them get Josh's nerd friends to watch him, and Drake and Josh and Megan go to ride the ride. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, their grandpa served in World War II, so when he wakes up, he thinks he's still back in World War II. While this is happening, Drake and Josh and Megan are waiting in line. But Josh goes to the restroom, and when he comes back, people think he's cutting in line, and when Drake says no, he's with us, they think they cut in line. I swear, motherfuckers in this universe are dumb. So the security take him to the back. While this is happening, Grandpa still thinks he's in World War II, and thinks the nerds watching him is German soldiers. They have to go to the back line, which is a 2-hour wait. So Drake and Josh and Megan keep getting sent back to the line because a kid pulled his tail. Let me rephrase that. A kid pulled the mascot's tail. It was a rat, and the rat think they did it. Eventually they ride the ride, in which they get back in time, which Grandpa's asleep now. Then the episode ends with Grandpa thinking he's still in World War II. This episode is a 7 out of 10. It's alright. This episode is about Drake and Josh pranking Megan into thinking aliens are real, in which it will be proven later on. They trick her by editing a telescope onto the computer by making it look like a spacecraft is floating by in space. They also trick her by getting a transmitter and making alien noises in the transmitter. They also trick her for a final time by dressing up as aliens and scaring her, but Megan brought backup. Basically, she scared Dan with aliens, basically an Uno reverse card. This episode is just very simple. I could sum it up really fast. I would give it a 6 out of 10. It was alright. This episode is about Drake and Josh going on a knockoff Dr. Phil show after they get mad at each other, in which it's basically a clip show, recounting clips from the show, where Drake is annoyed by Josh and the other way around. And it's revealed at the end that Drake dated Dr. Phyllis's daughter, called her a bad kisser and a dumbass. Basically, knockoff Dr. Phil starts beating up Drake and Josh, with the episode ending with Drake and Josh making up. I would give it a 5 out of 10. It's basically just a clip show. This episode is about Josh's birthday and the fact Drake forgot Josh's birthday and threw his girlfriend of 5 days a surprise birthday party instead. So Drake picks it up by giving Josh Oprah tickets, which throughout the series Josh is a huge fan of Oprah. While parking, Josh accidentally runs over Oprah. So they go to the hospital so Josh can apologize to Oprah, but they keep getting tased by her security. They get the security guards out the way and everybody out of the building by saying Josh has a flesh-eating virus. The doctors gave Josh a chemical bath, which Josh is pissed at Drake again. There's also a small plot involving Megan watching over her friend's virtual pet. Long story short, it dies after dehydration in 45 minutes. Meanwhile, Drake throws a birthday party for Josh and he accidentally runs over Helen. Then the episode ends. I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. It was above average considering that the fact he ran over Oprah. This episode is about Josh watching over Miss Hafer's house and her dog, the teacher that doesn't like Drake. And Drake tags along with Josh, and it's revealed her dog's a Rottweiler. And they aren't so friendly to Drake and Josh, so they're stuck in the bathroom, which they try to dial up their dad, but he's working out and he doesn't hear it. So they accidentally get the phone in the toilet by accident, and so they're screwed. Megan goes by, and then the dog is calm when she's around, so she leaves after finding this out. After this, the animal control shows up and goes by, and they're even scared of the dog, so all three of them are in the bathroom, in which Drake and Josh make a run for it, and they finally make it home, in which Walter comes by to Miss Hafer's house to pick them up, but he gets chased by the dog, and then the episode ends. I would give this episode a 6 out of 10. It was good. This episode is about Drake and Josh going to their aunt's wedding, but they have trouble when Drake gives Eric Josh's whole laptop case, which had his phone and the SUV keys. So Drake takes his friends El Camino instead, in which they get a ticket when they go look for help, in which Drake locked him out of the El Camino, so they're basically screwed. They even get robbed at one point, until a tow truck appears and he leaves after Drake insults him because of his name, Leslie. And after he leaves, they fix the car, in which it catches fire right after, and Drake and Josh just kind of walk away. And that's really it. That's how the episode ends. This episode's alright. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. This episode is about the science fair, in which Mindy and Josh were originally going to work together, but they're working separate on their own different canons. Mindy says she loves Josh, which Josh handles badly. Drake and Josh thinks she didn't mean it, and she only said to sabotage him, in which the science fair happens and Josh wins the science fair. Josh mentions it to Mindy, in which Mindy says he let Josh win, which Josh gives Mindy the trophy and decides to take a break after Josh apologized. The side plot of this episode is about Megan pranks Josh for eating her cookie by tricking him into thinking he has a skin disease on his hands and feet, and the only cure is dipping it in lizard pee, in which he does it. And due to his hand and feet make it look like the skin disease, Megan reveals it to Drake after he dips his hands and feet in pee, and then the episode ends. I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. It's alright. This episode is about Drake and Josh having a bet about who can get the most girls, with Drake meeting this one girl, Carly, who he really likes. He tries to call off the bet, but Josh started getting dates after some advice from Drake's mom, so he doesn't budge, because Josh thinks that Drake is scared that Josh is gonna win. Carly overhears this and breaks up with Drake. So after failed attempts at winning her back, he decides to go to everybody he done bad to and say it was him, and Carly takes him back, making Josh the winner. And since Josh had more dates than Drake, he automatically wins. So Drake and Josh swap beds, because that was one of the bets that Josh made if Drake lost. Anyways, they swap back beds at the end of the episode, and that's really it. This episode's an 8 out of 10. It was good. This episode is about Josh meeting his favorite magician, the Great Houdini, or the Great Doheny. After annoying them, they find out he fell off and went poor. So Josh says that he could stay with them, but of course the Great Doheny starts annoying them, which they get the Great Houdini. Fuck it, he's Houdini now. Megan gives the Great Houdini an idea for a magic trick by faking his death to make it seem like he died when Drake and Josh stabbed the box. But he comes back to life, so after this he starts getting racks. So he gives Megan 500k and Drake and Josh a yo-yo before leaving. And also he made Walter's head bald for a trick, in which the Great Houdini can't change it back, so he just leaves. This episode is good. I would give it an 8.1 out of 10. This episode's about Drake and Josh winning the Pump My Room contest, which basically gives a room a makeover. So they give it to their parents for the living room, in which they find out it's a scam and they stole their whole furniture. The B plot of this episode is about Megan getting an assistant to help them prank Drake and Josh. She eventually fires him though, so she can do it by herself. And yeah, that's about it. Back to the A plot. They decide to work at a sushi restaurant to get the money to buy furniture for their living room again, where they mess up after the sushi conveyor belt starts going really fast, in which they get fired. By the end of the episode, they find the furniture, and then the episode ends with Megan pranking them. This episode's alright. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. This episode's about a huge storm breaking out. Walter, a weatherman, said it was going to be sunny. It comes back later, trust me. So before it starts storming, Drake was originally going to perform at a concert, an outdoor concert, but it got canceled due to the rain. Josh invited a bunch of people to their house to celebrate, including some of Drake's exes. Which leads into the B plot of Drake trying to find out what the exes are talking about with him, considering his current girlfriend Carly is talking with him. What they were talking about is Drake being a good kisser, and that's really the end of it. So they have a wind-up TV that you can watch by winding it up, in which they watch Walter get robbed in mid-rain while being soaked. Anyway, so Crazy Steve is there and he demands that they keep winding it so he can watch Dora. After the wind-up panel breaks, Helen gets everybody to sing "We Will Rock You" and then the episode ends. I like this episode. I would give it a 9 out of 10. I liked it a bunch. It's one of my favorite episodes of the series. This episode is about Drake and Josh wanting to get a car, with Josh and Drake throwing in $1,200 and Josh's dad throwing another $1,200 in. So they go to a car dealership where they see a monkey, and Megan really wants this one car, but Drake and Josh are not having it. Anyway, so they don't buy anything at the dealership, so they wait in their time until Drake buys a monkey from the car dealership, which Josh is mad about, and Drake convinces him that they can use it to get more money, and so they use it to get the money back, until a random guy buys the monkey off him for $10,000, in which they find out he's a weirdo who likes eating monkeys. After telling Megan to call the cops if they're not back in an hour, they confront him, in which the animal eater traps him in the closet. The police come down to confront that monkey eater, in which the police chase him down. Megan only agrees to let them out if they get the car that she wanted at the beginning, which is an ugly yellow car with flowers on it. This was 2006, this was a different time. Then the episode ends. This episode's good. I would give it an 8 out of 10. At the beginning of the episode, Drake sets him and Josh up with two hot twins for a date. But while they're building a bottle rocket, something goes horribly wrong where the bottle rocket shoots out the window and destroys a kid's treehouse, and which they have to rebuild the treehouse the next day. Megan will also be there to rebuild since she technically did help them, but it was in a very small way by just saying they put something on wrong. And so Drake and Josh and Megan have to rebuild it. Megan misses her best friend's birthday because of this, because Drake and Josh wouldn't say that she had nothing to do with it. When Josh is setting up the final wall, they decide to nail it in shut, but Drake forgot to cut out the door and we get this iconic meme. So they are stuck, and once Megan finds out, she keeps them in there as payback for missing her friend's birthday. But let's be real, she probably would have still done it even if she went to the birthday party. Meanwhile, Megan sets up Drake and Josh's dates with Craig and Eric, the two nerd characters, who the twins like. Then the episode ends with them tipping over the treehouse, and then that's it. I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. This has to be the best episode of Drake and Josh. The episode starts off with Drake making Josh late for their test after taking the car, which Drake and Josh take to school. And he also runs over Josh's bike so he has to walk. After this, Josh is completely done with Drake and stops hanging out with him completely. Drake throughout the episode is persistent that Josh needs him, but in reality, Drake needs Josh. Josh's life becomes better when he stops hanging out with Drake, while Drake's life becomes worse. Drake is late to class, and Drake is paired with a different partner other than Josh. Drake fails the chemistry experiment. Drake has a chemical emergency and he has to have a power shower, which could be a callback to Josh's runs in the Oprah episode. And then after the power shower, Drake finally admits it. After this scene, Drake is still sad about it, until Josh forgives him and then things go back to normal. I would give this episode a 10 out of 10. It's a great episode, and probably the best of the series overall. This episode is about Eric accidentally punching Drake and it turning into a rumor that Eric punched Drake for making fun of his sister, and which Eric turns cool so he doesn't deny the rumor, and so it makes Drake look like a dork for getting punched out. The B plot of this episode is about Josh being jealous of Mindy's new boyfriend, which turns out later to be her cousin who's just visiting town, and Josh and Mindy kiss, and then that's the end of that. Drake's plot is resolved when Eric got rid of Craig as a friend after he got popular, and Craig said to Drake to confront him in a fake fight because Eric won't fight back, and which he doesn't. So he missed the line, and he accidentally Chris Brown's a chick, and then the episode ends with all three of them singing a song. This episode is okay. I would give it a 7.1 out of 10. This episode is about Drake and Josh using Megan's camera to take a photo with them with a supermodel that comes to their house. Josh takes a picture of their hamster, which kills Megan's hamster, so they're naturally panicked that Megan's gonna do something to them for killing her hamster. When they tell Megan, she seems calm and not really mad at them, but they think Megan's gonna get back at them in some way, so they're constantly panicking and worrying that Megan's gonna do something, not even sleeping at certain points. But then it's revealed Megan's plan was nothing. She just let them panic and worry for no reason. Also, Megan's hamster isn't dead, he was just stunned by the camera light. This episode is like a 3 out of 10 for me. Nothing much happens, plus it's not even that funny really. It's just them just panicking constantly throughout the episode, and shows the aftermaths of them panicking, like Josh being sleepy because he didn't get sleep the night before because of Megan. This episode is about Drake and Josh going into a steer straight program after they get caught with fake IDs at a club. While the officer is driving them around, a criminal hijacks the officer's car with Drake and Josh inside. So Drake and Josh save the criminals, and they convince him that they're gonna rob their own house by not completely saying that it's their own house. But the criminal taking Drake and Josh to their house wants to rob it as well and brings his friends too. So they have to act like they're about that life, but in actuality they are not. So when Walter comes home, Drake and Josh tie him into the closet to make it seem like he's dead, so that way the other guys don't kill him. So Walter is currently tied into the closet with duct tape around his mouth. So Drake and Josh have a plan of faking that they are crazy by making Drake kill Josh, like fake kill Josh, not actually kill Josh. But the criminals run away and that's it. After this, they go out to dinner with their mom and Megan, in which they realize they left Walter in the closet still, and they're unfazed by it, and then the episode ends. I would give it a 9 out of 10. I actually decently like this episode. This episode is about Drake and Josh eavesdropping in Megan's life and would find out that she has a boyfriend, which they ruined when they embarrassed her in the movie theater, which Megan is now pissed, so Drake and Josh try to get the boyfriend to get back with Megan, and after giving him a few items, he actually does. Until Josh spots him with another girl, so they confront him for a second time with the other girl. Megan is there, so she sees all of this go down, and so she leaves him, and that's it. But before they leave, Drake and Josh try to teach Corey a lesson, but the boyfriend can fight, so they beat up Drake and Josh. And then the episode ends with Megan saying that they love Drake and Josh, which is an actually good moment of the series. I would give this episode an 8 out of 10. It's actually good. This episode is about Drake and Josh being invited to a sick party on an MTV show called Dude I'm 16 by their friend Thornton. After Drake makes out with his girlfriend, they are uninvited, so they try to get away back into the party. They give him Drake's signed Beatles album, and then he takes it. But even after saying it's one of the best gifts he has, they still won't let them into the party. So Drake and Josh disguise themselves in knockoff Stormtrooper equipment to find the Beatles album, so that way they can leave. But the thing about being dressed up in a knockoff Stormtrooper equipment is that they have to go film a reenactment. Basically, at the party, there was supposed to be a reenactment of one of the scenes from the knockoff Star Wars movie, which you get pulled away from looking for the album to go do the reenactment. And as you expect, Drake and Josh got beat up. They get chased out after they find out it's Drake and Josh. Drake gets his album back and they go on a date with 2 girls who think they're from the movie because they still have the knock-on Stormtrooper outfit on. Then the episode ends with a lightsaber battle between Drake and Josh. I actually like this episode. It was a 9 out of 10 for me. It's really good. I love this episode. Actually, this is technically a special, a 2-parter. So I'm going to talk about singly. This episode is about Drake getting a record deal, and he is going to get one of his songs on an ad for the Super Bowl. Josh is also Drake's manager, which a problem would come from this. That problem being, Josh is going to read the contract, so they can make any changes they want to the music, and Drake can't do anything about that, in which they make the song awful, in which Drake is pissed at Josh for not reading the contract. Meanwhile, Helen is getting married, so she needs to assign an assistant manager. That person being Mindy Crenshaw, which Helen only saw her fix the hot dog thing earlier, which if it's that easy to get assistant manager, then sign me up. Which Josh is jealous, and later Mindy reveals she took this job to spend more time with Josh. While Mindy is good at the job, she doesn't know it as well as Josh does. She finds this out when she books Crazy Steve on a Monday, which is his bad day. And then Crazy Steve starts going bonkers, in which Josh calms him down. Oh yeah, there's a very irrelevant C-plot involving one of Helen's family members staying at Drake and Josh's house for Helen's wedding, in which she is very rude, and that's really it. Meanwhile, Drake is going to put fruit flies in the guy's Carr, the guy who ruined his song. And Drake says to Josh that he always follows the rules, which can be taken very differently. But he says he'll always be a loser by following the rules constantly, and when someone fights dirty, you have to fight dirty back. So Josh swaps the songs of Drake's song, replacing them with the old version of Drake's song that Drake likes. And the fact that Josh did it, Drake is very pleased about. But what Josh did is very illegal, and the label is going to sue them for $5 million. But the boss is impressed because the sales of the song are high and have a #1 hit on their hands. They also give Drake a new contract, a multi-record deal. They also fire the guy who changed the song. After this, Helen's wedding starts at the premiere, but due to a small fire, they are doing it outside. And Mindy and Josh get back together, and also Mindy steps down as assistant manager, making Josh the assistant manager of the premiere. And the episode ends with Drake playing the song, which is called Make Me Happy, which actually did release in 2006. This was their attempt at making Drake Bell one of the biggest stars in the world, kind of like Hannah Montana in a way. They would technically kind of be right, but not really. The last scene of the show is them fighting over a piece of shrimp, which happened in the Amanda show. I'm gonna say it, this is one of my favorite episodes of Drake and Josh. I don't know why this wasn't the final episode, because it feels like the final episode, but it's not. It's probably because the episodes were aired out of order, but still. Due to it being aired out of order, stuff like Josh being assistant manager isn't brought up, along with Mindy and Josh getting back together, or Drake even having a record deal. But I would give this episode a 10 out of 10. It feels like the perfect ending to the series. This episode is about Drake winning a skydiving lesson from a helicopter, but his parents are against it and he still wants to go on it, so Drake does, but just doesn't tell his parents or Josh. Also, on a huge side note, where is Carly, Drake's girlfriend? The last time we saw her was in the storm, but she's never brought up again, and Drake just starts randomly dating other girls, even though it's never mentioned what happened to Carly. Back to the episode, after Josh finds out Drake went skydiving, he goes to go get him, but Josh goes to the helicopter lesson as well, but not to skydive, but just for the helicopter lesson. But as Drake is getting ready to skydive, they accidentally knock out the pilot to the helicopter, which after they wake him up, they fling him out the helicopter by accident with the fire extinguisher, which he isn't dead since he has a parachute. They try calling to a radio, but it fails. They also try calling Megan, but she hangs up on them, so they have to jump out the helicopter with a parachute. After they get home, the helicopter instructor comes to the door giving them a bill for a new helicopter, which is $400K. Then the episode ends. It's alright, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. This episode is about Drake and Josh entering a dance contest. Drake does this by stealing Josh's dance partner, so Josh gets a new dance partner who's really good. The reason Drake is doing this is so they can get a pass, because he skipped most of gym, and if he fails gym, he fails the grade. So he needs the credit the dance contest will give him, if he wins. Josh solely did this to beat Mindy, and at the dance contest, Drake and Josh's partners get into a fight. So Drake and Josh have to perform together, in which they win. This random girl comes up and says that she loves Drake. This was an occasionally recurring joke in some episodes, but it wasn't worth mentioning outside of this sentence. And the episode ends with them being confused on who she is. This episode's alright. I really wish this series ended with really big shrimp, but due to airing them out of order, it didn't happen. I thought Drake and Josh was decent, but to a certain extent it didn't age well. I like the elements of the series, like the characters, some of the episodes, and some of the jokes. But personally, I just thought iCarly was funnier.
Well, don't mind if I do.
And now, time for a confetti surprise. Hit it!
But overall, I still found the series enjoyable. Some of the best episodes of the series are The Bet, Josh is Done, Movie Jobs, Steer Straight, Foam Finger, Bull Shark, The Gary Grill, and Grammy. Now, Drake and Josh doesn't have any quote-unquote bad episodes, but these are the least interesting ones, at least to me. Smart Girl, Puff Pepper, #1 Fan, The Mean Girl. Everything else to me is decent. The movie starts off with Josh being accepted into this creative writing class that no one seems to care that he got into. Then it cuts to Drake's gig being canceled, but instead he got booked at a retirement home. It then cuts to Josh trying to figure out what to write about for his creative writing class. The subject being a great adventure, even though he could just make it up. But okay. We then cut back to the retirement home where Drake is scaring all the old people because of his new machine. Back to Josh, he still can't think of anything and Josh now thinks he's boring. Drake then makes Josh his band manager. It then cuts to Drake and Josh's parents leaving for a cruise, with Drake and Josh being responsible for taking Megan to the airport. They then put her on the wrong plane to LA. We then get some exposition about someone stealing a money printer from DC, the official money printer that he used to print money for the government. Drake and Josh then go on a plane to LA to go meet Megan, but Josh is having the worst luck on the plane and Drake is having the best luck on the plane. We then cut to Megan getting a limo at the airport and then getting a fancy hotel. We then cut to this one guy on the plane who seems to be involved with the counterfeiting money thing, which Josh starts sitting next to him after he got tired of those other people that he was sitting with. Anyways, hijinks ensue, and now the other guy has Josh's MP3 player, and Josh has the device to unlock the money printer. Drake and Josh get off the plane and are worried about Megan, while she's basically recruiting Home Alone 2. So Megan finally tells Drake and Josh where she's at, and then while Josh is in the restroom, he comes across this record guy looking for someone to fill in. He manages to convince the guy to get Drake to perform. While at the hotel picking Megan up, the two guys confront Drake and Josh about the Geo, or the MP3 player, and Josh knowing what's on the Geo, with the two guys chasing Drake and Josh with the Geo. And so they steal Tony Hawk's car, and they basically kidnap Drake and Josh with Megan still at the hotel, with Megan finding out where Drake and Josh are via the bad guys leaving their wallet at the hotel. Jeez, what amateurs, they can't even take their wallet with them. They basically throw him in like a makeshift jail because rap snitch Calicious. Basically, they plan on killing Drake and Josh because they don't want him to snitch on them. Anyways, Drake and Josh are tied up with Megan calling the police, but her phone's breaking up, so she goes towards them. And Megan creates a distraction with the money printer with the whole AC unit going off, and Drake and Josh get chased off until they eventually escape with the police arriving. And they don't charge Drake and Josh for stealing Tony Hawk's car because Tony Hawk said he would have done the same thing. Anyways, Drake arrives at a concert and performs very well. And this is actually technically canon since they bring up Really Big Shrimp. This sets up the plot for Really Big Shrimp. So yeah, it is technically canon that Drake and Josh committed Grand Theft Auto. In my opinion, this movie's just okay. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I mentioned in my Drake and Josh video that some aspects of the show have not aged well. Well, this goes double for this movie actually, because it just feels really tropey with bringing random criminals who commit crimes with counterfeit cash. Like, it kind of comes out of a left field when you really think about Drake and Josh. But as I said before, it's just okay. I wasn't a huge fan of it. Anyways, moving on to the next movie. Now, believe it or not, this actually came out after the show already ended. It was released in 2008, a year after the show ended. And it's a fucking Christmas movie. All the homies say fuck Home Alone, we watch Merry Christmas Drake and Josh. The plot is about Drake and Josh's parents being out of town. Again, why did they go out of town again? Everything bad seems to happen when they go out of town. The plot is about Drake throwing a party at the roof of the premiere, and it turns out Helen also got divorced and kills Josh.
Man up in the sky. That's my snowman.
Your snowman?
Yeah.
And the movie ends. No, I'm kidding, about Josh being dead. The divorce part is very much real. So Drake is now playing the role of Santa, and they even point out that Josh lost weight. We then cut to Drake and Josh's parents being on vacation, and it being asked to a bad paradise place. We then cut to Drake being Santa and Josh being his sack. Pause. Being Santa's bag that he holds all the toys. Then a girl who doesn't understand no means no comes up to Drake and demands a kiss from Drake. Drake then comes across this one girl who he promises to give the best Christmas to because he's disguised as Santa. We then cut to Drake performing Christmas songs at the premiere. We then cut to Mindy leaving the party with Josh and Mindy saying goodbye because she's visiting her grandma for Christmas, with it bumming out Josh. We then cut to Crazy Steve being batshit insane with him falling in love with a wood chipper. These guys then start ruining the party and Josh calls the police, which the police start targeting him for some reason, and they then tip him off to the roof where he lands in the truck of the people that were ruining the party. But instead of arresting the other guys, they arrest Josh instead. I swear, they're arresting the wrong Drake and Josh brother. Josh then goes to prison where he's greeted by a cellie played by Kimbo Slice, RIP. Kimbo then plans on making Josh his bitch. Josh shows him a magic trick in which he's cool with Bludge, who is Kimbo's in-character name. But Bludge still has to beat him up because it's prison. Drake gets scanned by a fake lawyer, so no money for Josh. So back to Drake. The girl from Aura, you know, the one that Drake promised a good Christmas? Well, she knows Drake and gives her address, which, yikes. But it's so he can give her family a good Christmas because her family is a foster family, where her foster mom is really sick, and damn, this got really dark really fast. So Drake feels like he has to give her a good Christmas because he feels bad. We then cut to Josh back in prison where Drake attempts to break him out so he can give the girl a good Christmas, with Kimbo basically having to knock out Josh so Drake can take him, but they get caught. Helen is presenting Drake and Josh, which she bails her out with the whole Christmas promise thing, but if they didn't give her her best Christmas, they will go to jail. So the stakes are high, either give this girl a good Christmas or go to jail. Drake and Josh then get a parole officer and they have to wear an ankle monitor. Throughout the movie, this pro officer keeps messing with them on some 10-penny shit.
What's this?
Tickets for reckless driving.
$400?
Yeah.
With him at one point paying someone to strip them butt naked.
Okay.
So their parole officer Perry keeps doing this and keeps giving them tickets, which makes it even harder to give them presents. Even at one point, they get Megan to mess with him and get them to stop following them via putting their trackers from the ankle monitors in a drone. She's only doing this for a fancy new oboe, which Drake lies about later. So Drake and Josh with the foster kids do the typical holiday shit like cutting down a tree, getting a Christmas tree, shit like that. So yeah. So after Drake and Josh start bonding with the kids, the parole officer gets Crazy Steve to yell about the whole deal, in which the court ordered them not to expose it to the kids, otherwise that would influence their vote. Which the foster family comprises of Mary Alice, the kid that Drake promised, and then we have Luke, the loner who looks after the kids when their father is at work. We have Willie and Violet, the twins. We have the foreign boy Zigveef, who speaks an unknown language. Then we all have Trey, and then yeah, I totally didn't look it up on Google because I forgot. But after the foster kids find out about the deal, they're completely mad at them. And I kid you not, they rip a scene from the Jim Carrey's Grinch where Drake and Josh visit his mom to find out why he hates Christmas. And the reason why the parole officer hates Christmas, well, that's because he got his ass kicked by a monkey because he wanted a monkey when he was younger.
God save me from that crash, just so I could beat Pete Davidson's ass.
And so Drake and Josh give him a monkey. And so Drake and Josh go to create a snow for them by using Sally, Crazy Steve's wood chipper. Which that doesn't create snow, that more so creates really sharp ice. But it's the thought that counts, right? So the foster family forgive Drake and Josh for at least trying to do something good for them. And so when Drake and Josh wake up, it turns out they're going to jail. But psych, no they're not. The foster family throws them a good Christmas, for at least trying to make theirs good. So Drake and Josh aren't going to jail tonight. Also, Bludge comes through to give the kids a great Christmas with presents. And it also gives Megan her clarinet or something. When they go outside and turns out it's snowing, but it's actually cheese. So it just looks like snow, but they're playing with cheese. But Drake and Josh's parents come home after their awful vacation. And then the movie ends. You're probably gonna hate me for this, but I think the Christmas movie is actually better than the Hollywood one. Hear me out. It could be ironically funny at some points, while the Hollywood movie barely got a chuckle out of me. Now, it's not like The Room where it's everything is so bad that's good. It's more so a joke that wasn't intended to be that funny becomes funny. But overall, I just liked it for being just a simple Drake and Josh story, not having counterfeit bills being thrown into the mix. But overall, it's a good movie. My final thoughts on the Drake and Josh movies were, the first one was alright, but I wasn't a huge fan of the first. The second one surprised me since the sequels usually actually suck. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're having a good one, and goodbye.